Hello everybody and welcome to Disney News. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I figured a lot of Disney related news has piled up, and while none of it's breaking news or anything like that, I think it'd be cool to bring up and talk about, and maybe some of this is new for some of you guys. Anyway, we're going to kick it off this week with some movie news, and this was, I think, the biggest piece of news out there, and that was that Emma Watson has recently revealed that she has been cast to play Belle in a live-action version of Beauty and the Beast. Now, we don't know a whole lot yet. We know who's going to be directing the project, and that is Bill Condon, who is a director who is known for Gods and Monsters, as well as a couple of the Twilight films. Now, seeing as the screenplay is being worked on, Stephen Chbosky, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who worked on The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Haven't seen actually any of those movies, so I can't really speak to what I think the quality of the film's going to be like. I do think Emma Watson as Belle is almost like the perfect casting decision. It's certainly one that I think is really great. I think most of the talk has been over whether or not there should be live-action recreations of these animated films, and I am, of course, in the camp that there's no reason why there shouldn't, If the movie's good, great. We have another great movie. It might encourage some younger viewers to check out the original film. If it's not great, it's just going to be forgotten, I think back to movies that were sort of considered failures, things like The Haunted Mansion. Like, does that get brought up very often? Not really. So I think there's very little risk on our part as film goers or as movie goers to when it comes to these sort of recreations. Really, the risk is on Disney's part, putting all the money into it. Now, that said, the film isn't slated to start production until later this year, which means we probably aren't going to see it until, my guess would be, late 2016, early 2017. Probably have some time to wait and get more news on casting and how it's going to turn out. In some more Disney news, Bob Iger, in an annual shareholder letter, revealed the release dates for Star Wars Episode 8 and 9, and I think they're pretty predictable dates, but they're going to be December of 2017 for Episode 8 and December of 2019 for Episode 9, and as mentioned previously, they're going to be standalone films in between, and of course they're sort of tapering all of these films' creations so that they can release one annually and keep everybody thinking about Star Wars. I don't think this is really super exciting news. I think 2 years between films sounds about right and sounds almost expected, especially with this talk of alternating between standalones. I think what is interesting to note is that they're sticking to December for these years. I recall, and I should go back and check, but I'm pretty sure originally Star Wars was slated to be released earlier this year, but it ended up pretty early on in production getting pushed back to December. And so what's interesting is they're not going to try and play catch up and sort of make this a summer blockbuster in those future years. They are just sticking to, sort of owning December for it. Which is fine. I think in the realm of film and in the realm of video games, we've seen, especially recently with things like Gravity, that you could get big blockbuster hits outside of the summer season. That's sort of just an old film sort of habit that people got stuck into. And I think people are starting to see that you don't have to do that in order to make some good money. In any case, this news reminded me that it is February and December is when Star Wars comes out. And to be able to say Star Wars is coming out this year is really, really exciting. And I cannot wait to go see it. Moving on to Disney World news, news earlier this month broke that Walt Disney World is going to be expanding on their plans for the Norway Pavilion at Epcot's World Showcase, and to the joy of many of you and the dismay of many of you, it is going to be Frozen related. They have decided that in addition to replacing the Maelstrom with a Frozen-based theme ride, they are going to also build a 13,000 square foot building between the Norway and Mexico Pavilion that will be the home to a Frozen-themed meet and greet area. Now, while the Maelstrom replacement ride is slated to open in 2016, we don't have a date for this new building, although considering it's probably going to be less technically advanced than a new theme park attraction, my guess is that it would open up before the ride or maybe in conjunction with the ride. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hot debate over whether they're going too far with this. And I've spoken my mind on what I think about putting Frozen in World Showcase before. Just a reminder though, like less than a year ago, the wait times to see Anna and Elsa were up to 5 hours. Think about standing in line for 5 hours. Clearly, the Frozen craze is not over. It's still going. The question is, will it continue to be going in 2016? Who knows if Disney's going to hope that it continues to coast that way, or they're going to push it along with maybe another movie or more projects. But it looks like we're going to be seeing more Frozen in Norway. Now, a lot of people might dislike that. I would just like to point out that we're not only seeing more Frozen in Norway, and we're seeing this, this reinvigoration of World Showcase. We're seeing an expansion of World Showcase. Now, they are taking an area that hasn't been used for the public yet, and they're building a whole new building. And I think anything that sort of adds more to World Showcase, even if it isn't your favorite movie or you think that it's been pushed too hard, I think it's cool to see that, Epcot is growing as a result of this. Speaking of Epcot, it looks like Disney is pulling the plug on like a really cool collectible that they were selling through Starbucks. If you haven't been to the parks recently, they have been selling these Starbucks mugs that have all these cool Disney designs based on the 4 theme parks. And they recently announced that they're going to be pulling the Epcot mugs for a very interesting reason. The problem with it, or the reason why they're pulling it, I should say, is that because of this color scheme, there is a purple monorail on it. And the purple monorail is actually a monorail that they decommissioned back in 2009 after it was involved in a crash that resulted in 1 fatality. Now, that said, it wasn't really an oversight on Disney's part, in my opinion, because it's not as if it was a regular mug and they just threw a, purple monorail in there haphazardly. The whole mug is like blues and purples. It just matches the color scheme the same way I believe the Magic Kingdom's all shades of yellows. It doesn't match reality. And it's interesting because there's a lot of news about them pulling it, but as far as I could tell, there hasn't been a lot of outrage about it being there. Something tells me that one person noticed it and mentioned it, and Disney decided to play it safe and pull the mug, and somehow that ended up generating more news than if they had continued to sell it. One thing I do know is the second I heard about this, I went on eBay to see how much the mug was going for, and sure enough, it's selling for upwards of $100 now. So there goes a collector's item opportunity that I missed. And that's the bummer is it's a really cool looking mug. I actually would have liked to have this mug. It just looks like a sweet, ode to Epcot. Moving over to the Magic Kingdom, Peter Pan's Flight has debuted a new interactive queue. If you check the source and the link in the description below, you can actually see a video of it in action. It's really awesome because it's not like the interactive queues of, say, Space Mountain, where it's sort of like an arcade game where you just take controls and play. It is actually a really, really well-designed and well-themed queue. Even if you took the interactivity out of it, it is actually a really beautiful place. The interactive queue is really interesting in that it uses a lot of projection mapping to get Tinkerbell into the bedrooms over in London, and she's flying around and stuff. And they play a lot with the theme of Peter Pan. If you remember the movie, it starts with sort of Peter trying to catch his own shadow. And so they play with that shadow element. And what they do is they have the shadow of the people in the line projecting on the walls. And you can actually interact with virtual objects through your own shadow, which is really cool. And it sort of plays into what I've said in the past, and I think is going to continue happening, which is I think we're going to see more and more interactive queues until it becomes just a normal commonplace when it comes to an attraction at Disney World. It sort of makes the wait less painful. It's more of a fun and memorable experience. There's no reason not to throw them in there. It's just a matter of keeping them creative enough. And by the looks of this queue, they're really using their imagination very well. So there you have it, a little bit of Disney news, both in the parks and the film world. I'm sure a lot of this has been seen and read before. Not much of it is brand new, but I thought it'd be cool to check out. In the description below, you can find the links to all of the articles where this news came from, some of them including videos such as, like I said, the interactive queue with Peter Pan, or photos of where this new Frozen meet and greet in Norway is going to be, so I highly suggest checking them out. If you have a piece of news that you think is worth talking about, feel free to bring it up in the comments below, or let me know what you think about any of these news pieces. Maybe you don't think Emma Watson's a good casting choice, or maybe you don't think there should be a Frozen building, or maybe you don't think there should be interactive queues. I don't know on that last one why you wouldn't want that. That'd be kind of crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it. And I hope to see you next time for the next Disney News Update. Bye, everybody.